Is it time for me to do the meditation? Okay. First of all, I want to thank Gloria. You know, that was an absolutely perfect way of reading the daily word. Just so well said, so well put. Thank you, Gloria. Okay, so once again, let's turn within. We don't know what the next moment brings. We always know that it's though for our highest good, no matter what that is going to be or will be. So if we can just forget the past and the future, and just be in this moment, so much life and joy, vitality, passion, as the daily word said, can come through us because the obstructions of past worries and future concerns, or past resentments and future concerns, just dissolve. We find ourselves here and now, aware of our inner light that is covered over by past concerns, future worries. The veil is removed and we feel the light shining right at the very center of our being. Our essential goodness is shining. Just feel it, the subtle light, the subtle presence. So now let's do a little meditation, inhaling the words silently with each inhalation. God is. Exhaling, I am. Inhaling, God is. Exhaling, I am. Just follow the breath as it naturally flows. It's natural rhythm. Inhaling, God is. Exhaling, I am. And just let go of the affirmation. Be in the moment. The words are God is now. I am now. Now is the moment, here and now. And that feeling of presence, be it like a light, a radiance that blesses those with whom you pray. So consider those with whom you pray and invite them to be here in this meditation. Think of their names or visualize their faces and affirm silently. The light of God surrounds you. The love of God enfolds you. The power of God protects you. The presence of God watches over you. Wherever you are, God is, and all is well. and bless them. See them in the light of this radiance. See their essential goodness as you behold your own essential goodness, as you affirm the light of God surrounds me, the love of God enfolds me, the power of God protects me, the presence of God watches over me. Wherever I am, God is. Wherever we are, God is. We are in this radiance of essential goodness. Feel your essential goodness. Accept your essential goodness. Be embraced by your essential goodness. Be saturated in essential goodness. And even as we are about to open our eyes, let the feeling of essential goodness remain throughout this entire day, week, month, year, life. Thank you, God, for the feeling of your essential goodness in us, as the Christ, shining brightly, feeling ourselves sitting here in this chair, wherever we are in this present moment, we say together, Amen. So it is. All righty, so this message today is inspired by a story, and it's a powerful story. You'll find out. The lesson title is Essential Goodness, as you probably figured out. Our essential goodness is our true nature. No matter what we have ever done, our essential goodness remains untainted. No matter what anyone else has ever done to us, their essential nature remains untainted. To understand this allows us to have unconditional compassion for ourselves and others, no matter what we or others have done at any time, in time and space. This does not mean that we are to forgive negative, harmful actions. No, we don't forgive negative actions. We instead discriminate between the human soul and their actions. We are not to define ourselves or others by our worst act or actions. We can choose to forgive our own human imperfections as we choose to forgive the human imperfections of other souls. Desmond Tutu of South Africa said, quote, "My humanity is bound up in yours, for we can only be human together," end quote. In South Africa, this is called Ubuntu, U-B-U-N-T-U, Ubuntu. The belief that we humanly are defined by our compassion and kindness toward others, end quote. So I'm going to put something up on the screen now. I'm going to have a few things that should be patient with me, please, because it takes me a while to bring sometimes bring them up to the screen. And Nancy, would you read this, please? Can you read it, or you're on mute? So.
You know, it is very small for my eyes.
Okay, maybe Neil.
Now wait a minute.
That's
I
okay.
get it. Okay.
No,
I can read it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead.
Ubuntu. In certain regions of South Africa, when someone does something wrong, he is taken to the center of the village and surrounded by his tribe for 2 days while they speak of all the good he has done. They believe each person is good, yet sometimes we make mistakes. which is really a cry for help. They unite in this ritual to encourage the person to reconnect with his true nature. The belief is that unity and affirmation have more power to change behavior than shame and punishment. This is known as Ubuntu, humanity towards others.
Thank you, Gloria. So 2 weeks ago, at my local post office in Aptos, California, I caught a glimpse of a headline in our local Santa Cruz weekly periodical. You probably have a weekly periodical where you guys are. It's called The Good Times here. The headline was Hell and Back. And there was this white lady standing between the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. That looked very interesting to me. It's interesting. I didn't pick it up right away. I thought, well, I'll get it later. And so a day or so later, I picked it up. And I'll show you a copy of what I saw when I saw it lying there in the post office to pick up for free. So I have blocked off underneath Hell and Back because it would give the story away. So that's why I put a piece of white paper over that. But that was what I saw. That's the article I saw. The front of the newspaper that day. So here's the story. Originally from Massachusetts, Miss Lara Love Hardin graduated from UC Santa Cruz, University of California, Santa Cruz, in 1989, majoring in English language and literature. She got her Master of Fine Arts in Creative Writing from UC Irvine in 1991. Sometime between 1991 and early 2000, she taught creative writing and composition at UC Santa Cruz. She had some children at the time. While she was teaching this creative writing and composition. In the early 2000s, Hardin battled a worsening addiction after being prescribed painkillers. Taking opiates eventually led to smoking heroin. When she ran out of money, she began committing crimes, stealing neighbors' credit cards and other identifying information to buy groceries and gas after her cash went to buying drugs. In 2002, Hardin got clean and sober, but in 2008, she relapsed. In 2009, she was arrested. In a story from the now famous Neighbors from Hell headline, the Santa Cruz Sentinel reported that Hardin and her partner, David Jackson, admitted to 30 counts of identity theft related charges after stealing mail and wallets and using pirated internet to set up phony accounts in the names of their victims, who prosecutors said numbered more than 24. Hardin faced 24 years in federal prison, but the judge, calling her case very, quote unquote, very tragic, sentenced her instead to a year in county jail, drug treatment, and supervised probation. When the Santa Cruz County sheriffs came to arrest and apprehend Lara at her home in Aptos, her young son was sitting on the floor surrounded by teddy bears. A child protection officer picked him up. Lara asked her arresting officer, "Where are they taking my son?" The officer responded, "You will never see him again. You should not be anyone's mother. He is better off without you." Lara said, "I hung my head because my mind and my soul believed he was right. I was bad." She said, "I was put in a holding cell. I tried to hang myself. I felt that I didn't deserve redemption." That was 12 years ago in 2009. All I thought about was shame, like how we label people jerk, criminal, tweaker, junkie, drunk, whatever. She said, imagine that when people talk about you, all they thought about or talked about was the worst thing you had ever done. And it's even worse when we do it to ourselves.
Mom, I got it. It's going to be 2.
Laura did a plea. Is everything okay? Laura did a plea deal. She pleaded guilty to a number of crimes, some of which she said she did, some of which she said she didn't. She had become addicted to opiates. While she was in jail, the Santa Cruz Sentinel newspaper, the Santa Cruz Sentinel newspaper, they took an article from the Santa Cruz Sentinel newspaper, The Neighbor from Hell, and included hundreds of comments people had written in response to it and mailed it into her spitefully, anonymously at the jail, just to dig at her, just to show hatred toward her. She carried that article around believing she was bad. After Laura had been released from jail, she was living in a 400 square foot apartment with her 5-year-old son. She was broke and on the brink of homelessness. She said, quote, I didn't have a lot of friends and was living in a community where everyone hated me. I was on probation and trying to get all my children back. She needed to get food stamps and a job. One day, Laura went to her appointment at our local California government offices. There's when she was trying to appeal her drug conviction in order to get food stamps. She said, quote, I'm with a toddler in the most depressing waiting room in the world. My little flip phone rings and they want to see me for an interview in an hour. I had to decide if I was going to wait out in this place or to get the food stamps or go to this part-time job interview. It felt like dating where you don't want to do it, but you should do it. So she left for the job interview. Laura was applying for a part-time $15 an hour job as a writer at a Santa Cruz business called Idea Architects, which was just at that time beginning. In fact, the owner was doing it part-time. The mission statement of Idea Architects is, quote, we are a creative book and media agency helping visionaries create a wiser, healthier, and more just world, one book at a time, end quote. Doug Abrams was its founder in 2003. Abrams himself was working part-time, as I said, trying to get this business off the ground. So Laura got in her car that was falling apart because she had no money. She was traveling uphill, leaving behind a river of oil like the Exxon Valdez. Hardin parks on the side of the road, and to make sure she's looking around, she's concerned that maybe this ad in Craigslist is not true, and that someone's trying to actually murder her. And she's not sure that she wants to go in the building because there's so much hatred toward her in the community, so much fear she's having. So fighting through fear, sweat, and doubt, Hardin emerges from an interview feeling like she gave a great interview. So Abrams hired her, knowing about her past and reputation in Santa Cruz, because she was very honest with him. She was hired as a collaborative writer or a ghostwriter. A ghostwriter is a person whose job is to write material for someone else who is a named author. The first book that Hardin ghost wrote, a process she calls the collaborative writing and sharing of brains, was Desmond Tutu's book, The Book of Forgiving. So if you read that book, although Desmond Tutu lives in South Africa, it's full of Santa Cruz stories. Laura said, when you ghostwrite for somebody, you're egoless. You're kind of hide in the background. You're always in acknowledgements. Sometimes you're on the title page. Laura was a ghostwriter for a couple of books by John and Julie Gottman, who are known for being experts in relationships. And in these books, her name is indeed on the title page. On only one of the 12 books Hardin worked on does her name appear on the cover. And that is a story from a death row inmate entitled The Sun Does Not Shine, which is also was on the Oprah Book Club. Laura had all of a sudden become famous. So let me show you something. Anyway, she goes to New York City. Oprah invited her to come to New York City because she wanted to put this book in her book club. This is like about, 10 years or so after all the had started. There she is in New York City with Gayle King and Oprah. This ex-con, right? Within 10 years, look at her. She said she was smiling so intensely that her face was creasing. After joining Santa Cruz Publishing House Idea Architects, Hardin worked on books with Nobel Peace laureates, the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. She also is a literary agent for Brian Stevenson and other world and cultural leaders. Desmond Tutu said, Laura Love was our researcher, our literary companion, and our supporter through many drafts. She is aptly named a genius with a heart of gold. She is really very, very gifted. And so here's an image of Lara with the Dalai Lama's trying to comb her hair in this photo shoot. So now a four-time New York Times bestselling writer, Lara Love Hardin has paid her dues. Does she harbor regret for past actions? Yes. But I wondered after reading the Good Times article and listening to her TEDx Santa Cruz talk, which you also can watch if you want. It's easy to find. How did she get through it? Because the articles didn't explain. What did she do? What were her attitudes? I really wondered. And so I called up Idea Architects in Santa Cruz. And I talked to the lady, answered the phone. Hi, could you tell me what is Lara? What are her beliefs? I mean, how did she get through this? And she goes, that's a very good question. Why don't you ask her? I said, is she there? No, but she works at home. Send me an email and I'll ask her if she wants to talk to you. So I sent her the email and then she emailed it to her. And the next day she called me. And here's what happened in the call. So I asked her, what are your beliefs? What helped you come out of this hole, incredible hole of shame and guilt and self-hatred to climb out of it? What did you do? She said to me, I was living in a dark night in jail. I believed that I had failed at life, not being able to see my children. My children were my catalyst. Way down deep, my spark was missing. She said she read Eckhart Tolle and knew that she needed to be present with what was happening. She said, I knew I needed to send out love, to be present in love. This is significant for her. Then she said, I met a woman chaplain in jail who taught a class. The chaplain asked everyone to pray for what they most wanted. Lara said, I was praying for my drug addiction to go away and to let go of the belief that I was bad. I also longed to be touched. I knew that I needed a hug. This shows you how important hugs are. So important. But touching, especially hugging, was prohibited in jail. Well, after class, the chaplain hugged Lara for a long time, a long hug. You know those hugs. And she just felt this incredible grace and blessing entering. It was a breakthrough moment. And she said, this is a significant shift that helped her move forward to healing. Can you imagine how important your hugs are? How important it is to touch, if nothing else, even just verbal hugs, just loving hugs. Later, after her release from jail, she sought out communities to share her story with. She wanted to tell her story. And I asked her, well, what about 12-step groups? She goes, no, I didn't go to 12-step groups because I knew that they would support me as addicts. And I wanted to go to a group. I wanted an honest mirror of me. You know, this lady had courage. You know, Yes, it would be easy to go to a 12-step group. And so she joined this group of artists and comedians, like an improv group. And she asked herself, shall I tell the truth? Then she stood up and courageously did an improv comedy skit about being the neighbor from hell, including all she was going through. They loved it and embraced her. They were Ubuntu for her. Remember what Ubuntu is: the belief that we humanly are defined by our compassion and kindness toward others. Laura's judge in court was Ubuntu for her. Remember that he sentenced her for a year in jail instead of 24 years in federal prison. That's Ubuntu. That's compassion. He had compassion for her. And with the incredible help of this guy, Doug Abrams from Idea Architects, he hired her knowing that what her past was. Laura Love Hardin attained unimaginable success. She was like the phoenix rising out of the ashes of her failures to great success. She turned lemons into lemonades, as we say in Unity. To me, Laura exemplifies that we don't have to be defined by our worst acts or even our best acts. We can choose instead to be defined by our essential nature, our true spiritual nature, our essential goodness. And that never changes. We are always all essentially good. Laura said, everyone needs a champion. That's what you all there in Virginia, or as you say, y'all in Virginia, because I know when I came back to California after I was there, I kept saying y'all. I said, Bill, are you from the South? Well, I lived in Virginia for a while. That's what y'all in your church unity family have. You have Ubuntu, or you have the possibility of Ubuntu, to be there compassionately for if someone else screws up, if someone is sick, someone needs help, to be there in prayer, to care, have for others. Ubuntu, have compassion. You are there to compassionately be champions for each other, to see the good in yourselves and in each other. Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world. So why not be the light you wish to see reflected back to you in your world? Everyone and everything in the world is like a mirror. New Thought teacher Neville Goddard said, quote, it is easier to ascribe your feeling to events in the world than to admit that the conditions of the world reflect your feeling. He said, however, it is eternally true that the outside mirrors the inside, as within, so without. So why not be an emanator of light? Why not emanate Ubuntu? We can choose to openly and compassionately support ourselves and each other in the spirit of Ubuntu. We are not defined by any of our acts, any of our seeming failures or limitations. We are always essentially good. We can turn lemons into lemonade by being unconditionally compassionate to ourselves and others. So let's grow for it. Amen. And so it is.
Wow. Thank you, Bill. Another very timely and important message. We miss you. On the East.
I miss you guys too.
Yeah. You're in our prayers. And I think maybe now would be a good time to do our blessings for love offerings and tithes, because that was an incredibly wonderful and beautiful offering from the left coast to the east or right coast.
Right coast.
Divine love flowing through us blesses and multiplies all that we are, all that we have, all that we give, and all that we receive. Amen. So now if everybody would unmute their screens and share with Bill, and you can raise your hand, I'll call on you. What's on your heart, in your mind?
I'd like to say first to say hi to Bob. Is Patty there, Bob?
I'm learning how to use a PC again after 5 years trying to use an Apple. And I just barely connected to you 1.5 minutes ago. I was worried that you were able to hear me and I wasn't able to hear you. And then I heard you, and then I called Patty and said, I'm listening to the meeting. And she said, say hi to Bill for me. She's
Okay.
on the road. She's been to the Pittsburgh area for her granddaughter's wedding, or grandson's wedding. And they're on the road home, but they stopped for lunch. And so they'll be here 6, 7 o'clock from Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Blessings to you all. And
Good to see you, Bob. And hi to
Good to see
Mary,
you.
Mary Driver Downs too. Hi. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry. I wanted to say hi to Bob.
thank you. Hi.
I can't help but wonder something, and I don't want to. I want to say it's a wonderful message, but at the same time, the first thing you said to me, Bill, during your piece, was that this was a white woman,
A what?
but not a white woman, and
Yeah.
I could not escape from that fact in my head, thinking, "Look, what if this had been an African American woman? How would she be treated by our judicial system? I don't think she would have gotten a light sentence. And I
Yeah.
really don't think she would have gotten a good job. So I mean, I want to believe what her message is, but the problem is society, I know, doesn't treat people fairly according to race.
I think you're right, Tim. I think I thought about that. Would a black woman have been treated the same way? Would she have got the 24-year sentence?
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, I thought about that. Yeah. I know that because as a white person, I've got jobs that black people didn't get because I'm white. I know that's true.
Mm.
But, you know, I mean, regardless, the story is amazing, and how she was able to crawl out of the hole like that. It's quite an amazing story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Bill,
Yeah.
do you know Michael Tellinger?
No.
Oh, he's an archaeologist from South Africa. He's got a movement called Ubuntu, and
Oh,
he's making an attempt to have, you know, some cities where everybody pitches in. Like he said he'd start a town or a place where everybody got free electricity, but that what they had to do is put in 3 hours a week on any project that the town needed done. And so he's attempting to do this, but I think he's getting messed up by people who don't want him to do it. They say, well, we're going to give you this money, and then string him along for a year or two. But if you ever get to hear him, he's really good. He's an archaeologist, anthropologist who was showing that, you know, our history is not our history, because there's been civilizations here for hundreds of thousands of years before, you know, man even was walking on Earth. And he talks about some of that too. But he uses Ubuntu as his, what would you call it, catch-all phrase about everybody helping everybody, not
maybe you
overproducing.
could send a link to more about who he's about. Maybe I'd like to give a link about that.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Okay, someone else?
I'd like to look up her TED Talk. So what is her full name?
Lara, Love Hardin, Hardin, and it's just looked at Laura Love Hardin, TEDx Santa Cruz. TEDx Santa Cruz.
Okay.
I'd like to say something, and here it is. Is out of my garden, and it's a Desmond Tutu rose, and it's just in perfect bloom, just for you, Bill, and for everyone else at our church. And I bought it in honor of a bull. We read together Desmond Tutu's and the Dalai Lama's Book of Joy, and enjoyed it. And then I think his daughter read it to him again, and of course he enjoyed that too. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Nancy, when you put that flower up, that was like a hug from me. Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you. I love you.
I'd like to share, can you hear me, Bill? Can you hear me?
Yes.
It's Vicky. Yeah. So it just, you know, kind of how this hit me, your talk, how it hit me personally is, you know, sometimes I get into this thing thinking about, you know, woulda, coulda, shoulda, you know, what I could have done differently, what I should have done differently, what someone else, you know, could have done differently. And I find that that's a wonderful release of that cycle. When you think about your own essential goodness and someone else's own essential goodness, it kind of like gets you out of that loop that maybe you've been thinking, or I've been thinking about, you know, just for a long time, things I could have done differently or should have. So I think this is so powerful for me because I remember, wait a minute, this is the reality that I need to be, you know, working with and thinking about and praying about.
Yeah, this moment right here and now.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You know, Bill, it's kind of how we're all connected, and there is no space between us. Not from the Carolinas to California to anywhere. It's not just the unity name or the unity movement, but that meditation that you did, God is, I am. I've been using that for years on and off, and I you know, so there. When someone speaks, they speak for all of us. When someone experiences something, we experience it together. I mean, that is the oneness, you know, that, you know, we can give a virtual hug to anybody, anytime, just by smiling. So thank you for your talk.
Thank you.
There's my 3.5 cents. Or nonsense. Yes, Jeff.
So I want to thank you, Bill. You know, I had the opportunity to use this almost every day, you know, being in the public, and, you know, there's a situation just happened where we're trying to help somebody buy a house, and turned around and made us the, you know, the bad guy in the situation. And so this was an opportunity to come back with compassion versus all the other feelings that would have come up, you know, being a human being. But you really gave me a message to really live every day. So I want to thank you for that. And so great seeing you, and also makes us start within the foundation of unity that I, you know, grew up. So I came to know. So thank you for your message.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm thankful for being able to be here with you guys every now and then, you know, sort of spontaneously. Neil and I kind of figured out once in a while, maybe every few months. Excuse me. I, like Neil's saying, we're regardless of this time and space, we're one. You know, in spirituality, there isn't a separation ever, and we're one in spirit. So
I had sort of an aha. I've been so missing your meditations, Bill. I think I texted or emailed you that at one point. And I always felt that you took me places where I just couldn't get alone. And well, I'm still wrapped up in a lot of healing around a bowl, and I'm making progress. But I have a writing group, and I just do. It's sort of like automatic writing. I never know when I'm going to write. I listen to the prompt, but I don't feel confined by it. But I just start writing, and then something emerges. And the last time I went, I channeled a bull's voice. And while you were doing your, and then I when you were doing your meditation, it felt to me like, and maybe everyone else, that you channel the goodness that is there, the God that we all seek to know within ourselves and about us and within us, and is our essential self. And then I realized, it's big. Anyone who hears your meditations has been there. You take us there. And the opportunity for channeling is huge, whether it is a path, a book, a way, Ubuntu, whatever it is that is our path, it's so available to channel, like Conversations with God. Somebody else felt they were channeling that goodness and wrote a book. And Seth Speaks from a long time ago, they felt they were channeling, so anyway, it was an aha to me, and who knows, if I'll ever feel that channeling again, because there were parts I wrote and I thought, no, that's Nancy, that's not channeling. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you, and thank you for helping us get deeper in our meditation life. And it is practice, if we practice, we get further and further, as you have. So thank you.
Thank you. I love you, Nancy, and I love Abul. And in Abul's service, I sang "The Greatest Thing in All My Life Is Loving You" because Abul loved that song. I sang it in a service, online service, the Zoom service. And I love Nancy. I love Abul. There, when I came out for Brian's service, Brian Jones, I stayed with Nancy and Abul in their house. Thank you, Nancy. I love you. I love all you guys.
I've been singing that song too, Bill. You awoke the song within me, and I don't sing it every day, but it's a good one. And I love you too.
Oh,
Yeah, hey, now that you brought up the meditations, what came to mind was Wednesday nights with the harmonium and the chanting, and the meditations. I love those. That handful of people that showed up there.
I still have my harmonium.
Yeah.
Still don't know how to play it very well, but I have it.
Well, you just needed those basic tunes just to get us in the right frame of mind.
Okay, this is for Zach now. It says, talking about songs. My wife said that I was singing the Monkees songs too much. Face, and now I'm a believer.
oh,
Anyway, I think Leon wants to say something.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be very short because I really can't add to all the good things everyone else has said, but I just wanted to express my appreciation, Bill, for the service. Wonderful message, and the whole concept of Ubuntu, balancing out the bad things that you did with some appreciation for the good things. That's wonderful, even if all the good things that you've done are simply by accident. But terrific service today, Bill.
Thank you.
Yeah, Bill, you even guided me to change my name.
You mean you changed your name to Kneel?
Okay.
Okay.
Neil, okay. Hey, go ahead.
Jody wants
Yeah, yeah. Just something quick again, like Leon, ditto everything anyone said. But the thing that just really staying with me is that image you put up. I'm a very visual person, but when you were showing that quote about Ubuntu and you had that image of that man there and the expression on his face and his, his attitude, his gesture or whatever, it was just, I could feel it, it was so cool. And so
I also have had one of the best experiences of my life reading the Book of Joy with people.
yeah.
I think that was one of the best reading experiences I've ever had.
Yeah, he did a book group on that. That was a good book.
Yeah. Good.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to share before we close? Yes, Nancy?
Well, I've spoken so much and I do that, but anyway, it's try to make it short. Carrying on with what Frank said, I had a dream last night about Wednesdays, and they weren't occurring as much for a little boy as they could. And so you're mentioning Wednesdays. Sometimes I dream things in the future. So Wednesdays are powerful to a little boy within, or a little girl within some of us, as you mentioned that service.
Well, sounds like we are getting ready to close. And traditionally, Bill, Zach has been leading us out. So I'll open up with just a statement for Frank to tell to Alan that if he needs any more chiropractic magazines for his office, just let me know. I have back issues.
See you guys. Hey man, I got your back.
Oh my God.
Okay, Zach, you're on.
So, you know that bar where everybody walks into? Well, it turns out that a ham sandwich walked into that very same bar, and the bartender got all mad and said, why didn't anyone read the signs? Well, you can't come in here. And the ham sandwich said, why on earth not? And the bartender said, we don't serve food in here.
Oh,
And then later that same day, the two jumper cables came in, and the bartender said, you can say, but don't start anything in here.
Don't start anything in there.
I can see you hang out with Neil a lot, Zach.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of work together to some degree, although, I'm not in his court though. I'm not really, I'm pledging.
Yeah.
Your warm-up act.
Yeah, not even warm up. At this point, we go right in again into the prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over all of us, wherever we are. Whatever Zoom room we are in, God is, and all is swell.
Just remember, it's over all of us. All of us.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, today is Jody's birthday, so we have to say happy birthday to
Oh,
her.
thank you.
Okay. All right. Unmute.
happy birthday
To you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jody. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. And a whole new decade to do now, so.
Anybody else have a birthday this year? Raise your hand.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you all for joining us. I'll send out the recording. And actually, I'm looking up in the left-hand corner of my screen, and it says recording. I don't remember ever stopping the recording. That's kind of interesting. So you all might get to see each other again. Wait a minute. Let's wait for it. Hold on. Let's see what happens here.
Patty's going to enjoy listening to both the comments and the message on the recording.